Hi, I'm Walt. Welcome back to my shop for part 2 of our PIN-TEK MPU CPU board installation. I should have said in the beginning that I have zero financial interest in this video. Nobody paid me to make this video. Nobody gave me a discount on this board. Nobody gave me any free anything for making this video. Nobody asked me to make this video. So let's just hope you learn something and enjoy it, and enjoy the ride. Also, be sure to stay tuned. At the very end, there is some bonus footage on how to install that ASIC chip. Not install, how to remove that ASIC chip without damaging the socket. On site with our Indiana Jones, we will put this back together and see if it works. If I remember what I did with the key. There it is. Let's see if what you guys can see. That's not terrible.
Can you add voice to it later?
I could, but well, the first part I messed up the audio somehow, and I've been fighting with that, and I can't make that work worth a darn. Every time I try to fix it, I make it worse. That cable seems a little short somehow. I don't know if that board is connector's in a slightly different place. Where am I? Yeah, that's why they're asking you to get big new cables, is because the connector is in a slightly different place than the factory, I think. That one's like an inch, half an inch higher, and now you're pulling on the cable. Now I bet you the new cables are an inch longer. All right, that one's on, that one's on, that one's on. That one's on. That one's on. That one and that one. Well, that's all of them. Factory settings restored, bookkeeping cleared, reset. I think we're working. Let's push our I don't have any of my buttons. Why don't I have my buttons? Leave the connector up. Oh, I did leave the connector off for the sound. But that shouldn't make switches will not work. Oh, on the wrong plug maybe. Let's see what happens there. Switches, direct switches, but they don't tell you what they do. Okay. Alright, well, that manual is not going to help me. Well, this is me and my buddy Elroy. We got to give you a update on what's going on here. And Elroy is a blues brother, and I'm kind of blue right now because the board powered up okay, but it kept saying slam switch was stuck closed, and eventually it would time out of that, and I couldn't get it to go into any of the test modes, and that was frustrating. And you know, so I went and printed 170 pages of manual because the game didn't have one, and it'd been a couple weeks since I took it apart, and I wanted to make sure I put all the connectors on the right plugs. And all that seemed to check out. I ended up calling Kay's Arcade, talking to them about it, and you know, if I was them, I'd probably say it's not my board too, but I'm at a point where I think it's the board. I mean, if it were anything in the game, I'd have different symptoms. If it was my ASIC chip that Kay's Arcade seems to think it was, you know, I think I'd have bigger problems if one of the data pins or one of the other pins on the processor were dead. I'm thinking the game's not going to boot up and go into a switch matrix failure. You know, that just doesn't add up to me. If it were the other chip you reuse is the ROM, if there were something to do with the ROM, there's just no way that thing would boot up. It would just be locked up. You know, the last chip is an I/O chip. You know, that's in the realm of possibilities as a failure, but those chips were pretty rare failures, you know, so I'm kind of not liking that plan either. Kays wants the board back with my chips in it, and he'll figure it out. You know, I'm kind of reluctant to do that at this point. I got some wires. I'm going to try to simulate the switch matrix. For some reason on the CPU, if I unplug the switch matrix, it knows it, and it's telling me about failed fuses. And I'm trying to understand how the board can be smart enough to know that it's unplugged and that there's fuses failed if the switch matrices are unplugged. So that's not making a lot of sense in my mind just yet. So that's our update for now. Well, we're back, and I made some progress. It turns out that right here on the board is a little fuse that runs the zero crossing circuit, and that fuse was blown, and that was giving me all those weird errors with the tilt switch and the switch matrix not being able to work. And once I buckled down and decided I was going to get all the lights on the power supply to work before I condemned the board, it turns out that that's all it was. So that's where we're at. We'll boot it up. And it seems to come up now. And of course, when you first do one of these, you know, you're going to get the time and date not set error. Well, let's sum it all up. The PIN-TEK board from K's Arcade worked absolutely perfectly. There were no flaws in the board. You know, the ribbon cable is a little different position, but it doesn't really matter. All the difficulties you saw were all on the machine and me, one or the other, and everything else was good. Thanks for watching. Bonus footage here. This is a brand new pin extractor that came with a board for free. Let's open it up. And see if we can pull this chip out without damaging it, and with the puller. Again, we have a 90-degree corner, a 90-degree corner, a 90-degree corner, and our little tiny 45. In these two corners, we got the holes for the extractor. The extractor has a little tiny hook on the end there to go underneath the chip and grab it. Let's go zoom back out. To our normal range here. We get the one hook under, we get the other hook under, and we squeeze, and the chip comes straight up and out. That's our bonus footage.